This is Nicole, a kind, beautiful 41-year-old registered nurse, the mother of a successful Navy man, a lover of people and animals, and very close to her family, especially her sister. If something were going wrong with people we know and love, we'd all like to think that we'd see it and be able to help. But sometimes, something as brutal and severe as domestic violence goes completely undetected, even by those who are closest to the victim.
When they came and told us in the middle of the night that Nicole had been murdered, I thought it was somebody else. There was no way it could be Nicole. Nothing like this could happen to us. This is just something that happens to other people. It doesn't happen to you. I had no clue that things weren't going well. I believe when Nicole was leaving that day and she was breaking it off, it was something he couldn't handle. Her car was packed and her windshield was smashed. Her cell phone was found outside by the car. So when she was trying to pack to leave, he stopped her and brought her back in the house, and that's when she was beaten. Nicole was viciously beaten, probably for hours, before he put a gun to the back of her neck and murdered her.
Since 2008, Nicole McNair is the 7th murder victim of domestic homicide in St. Clair County. Domestic violence is a crime that knows no boundaries. The challenges for domestic violence victims in rural areas, which St. Clair County I call rural, are one, isolation. We have victims that they may live a quarter of a mile to a half a mile away from anyone else. Many of the victims of domestic abuse in St. Clair County are not going to leave St. Clair County and go to Birmingham. They're just not going to do it. They don't want to move away from family or friends. Having a local shelter gives them the opportunity to stay here locally and move in a positive direction in their life.
Women in our community who are victims of domestic violence and need a safe way out can turn to the St. Clair County YWCA for help. Our Place, the YW's emergency shelter for women and their children, provides a safe haven and access to individual and group counseling, family support, child care, case management, financial counseling, and transportation. In addition to safe shelter, the YW offers a 24-hour crisis line, assistance in obtaining a protection order, and help when it's time to go to court.
Most of the victims we see when they come into court, they're not necessarily interested in the prosecution of the case. Many of their questions revolve around who's going to help me with my child custody, who's going to help me with child support payments, who's going to help me when they foreclose on my house. Who's going to do all these things that by law we're not allowed to tell them. So the YW steps in and provides that assistance that wouldn't be there otherwise.
YW Victims Advocates help women regain a sense of control in their lives by assisting victims in the courtroom during hearings against their perpetrator. And the YWCA Family Law Center provides legal services for victims of domestic violence who often can't access or afford these services. Last year, 1,216 domestic violence victims were assisted through the St. Clair County YWCA Court Advocacy Program.
In St. Clair County last year in 2012, there were 892 domestic violence prosecutions. At first glance, that's an appalling number. But then if you look at it this way, the services that the YW provides, the counseling, the shelter where people can move away from that abusive relationship, that number may be double or triple if you didn't have the services of YW.
So far this year, more than 1,104 domestic violence victims in St. Clair and Blount counties have been provided with legal assistance, safe shelter, and support services at our place.
There are, I'm sure, a lot of women out there right now in the same circumstances as Nicole, not realizing that that someone that they love is playing them, is using them, is keeping them from being with their friends, with their families. That's something that the word needs to get out to. We need to let these women know if they can't make the phone calls, do the things they want to do, see the people they want to see, they need to think twice about that relationship, and they need to know how to safely get out. Services that the YW can offer them to help them know that they've got a place they can get out, they can get safe. Don't let them get into a spot where they're afraid for their lives or afraid for their children's lives, that there is something out there that can help them. We got our life sentence that day. We got a life without my daughter that day. It took a year and a half for him to get his life sentence. So we're victims, and it's not going to change for us. You know, we lost our daughter. We're not going to get her back. And it can happen quick without you knowing it.
There are other women in our community like Ellen's daughter. Many don't know about the YWCA resources available to them. You can change that by helping us reach these victims, and not only to rebuild their lives, you can help save their lives.